maybe that.
All right. So the topic today is really to improve the consulting that you do with your buyer and seller, investor clients. Any opportunity that you have, this is really discussion on how to convert it, right? And I guess the precursor to this would be, you've lead generated, and now you have an opportunity that needs to be converted. You have a lead that you created or generated, and let's go get it. Let's go help the people that we're in relationship with and help them reach their goals. And on your end as a business owner, get that revenue flowing into your business. So this is all designed to be a how to go about the consulting process to get to a point where you've created a lead, it's in your pipeline, and now let's convert it into a closing, right? And it's a lot of this will be intended to like the initial, like you have this new opportunity, right? And how to best approach it and again convert it, get to a point where you're working with them formally, and then get to a point where they're getting under contract from there. The one thing I'll add is just keep in mind that there's a patience to this process. There's a patience to this business really at all times. One of the things that I've been driving home recently in my coaching and training is just, for example, like be patient when you're qualifying a lead, especially on the financial side of things, right? Meaning like, if you just come in right out of the gate and start asking, are you pre-approved? Are you working with an agent? Understand that that's what your competition is doing as well. So you're not doing anything to set yourself apart, and treat yourself as a consumer. Put yourself in their shoes. If you're curious about real estate or you want to, start the process and the journey of buying or selling a home, and you're out there interviewing agents essentially, and this can apply whether it's a friend or a family member or just somebody that you met at an open house or an online lead or whatever, right? But if the first thing out of that comes from you is essentially about you, right? And you protecting your time and your business to be at a point where it's like, all right, if I'm going to spend time and talk to you further, I want to know that this is going to lead to something for me. If that's the approach, that's sniffable, right? They're going to smell it from a mile away, and you're at a disadvantage. The good news here is there's plenty of room to improve if you're hearing this and feeling it. Okay. And also, like, again, it doesn't really do any good to talk comparatively speaking, but this is what the competition is doing. So there's a level of like, what are you going to do to differentiate yourself? What are you going to do to be authentic and real and really look to provide value to the relationship versus just, is there a deal in this or not for me? So I want you to kind of keep that patient process and also just the process of how to go about this from a human to human standpoint. Keep that perspective on you, as we talk here for the next 45 minutes or so. But the consultation itself is really like you can create a lead and then lose it very quickly if your consultation process is not solid. If you're not able to get to a point where you're working by agreement with somebody now, especially for those who've been in the business a long time, like that's not necessarily a new concept, right? But it's a new requirement, and this becomes that much more important to begin with. But really, this top line here of like this top of the sales funnel process, like you can be the best at lead generation in the industry, and if you're not out there really establishing further trust and rapport and the ability to help somebody, it doesn't matter how great you are at lead generating unless you're just an ISA type of role and you're handing it off to somebody else to go convert, right? So this is where you make your money. This is where your business begins, as hard as it is to do the hard things and lead generate as often as you can to create those opportunities. Now, one thing I'll say, this place is pretty cool. There's a really good buzz around here. Like I got here about an hour early. I was walking around, like a lot of people in their office just on the phone. Like I didn't want to disturb anybody. So good for you guys. And it's 11 o'clock right now and hopping into some training and then, go out on your appointments, follow up with people the rest of the day. Like that's the model. So good for you. But again, you can be the best at that 9 to 11 lead gen type of routine and create all the opportunities in the world and then have them poof away if you don't execute in this process that we're going to focus on today. I think the approach to take to this is really, holistic, if you want to call it that, in the sense of just focus on them, focus on the relationship, strengthen that connection, like treat people like a human, right? Not a sale, not a file, not a lead, right? Like nobody wants to be called a lead on the consumer side of things, right? So just understand, like just put yourself in other people's shoes and really take advantage of that process of like, oh, this business becomes easy when you're able to communicate with people at a high level, especially relationships that you already have, or if you're willing to create new ones, and then you're willing to treat people right and help them with genuine intent and just act normal, for lack of a better word, right? If you can find a pretty good groove at this. The problem I think that we have is just like this salesperson title, kind of implies a lot, I guess, or it feels like a dirty word. And I'm going to tell you, like, we're in sales, deal with it. Sorry. Right. But you can totally go about this to where it doesn't have to be a grimy, salesy, feel dirty type of business. And again, just treat people like they're human. The keep in mind that you're going to be in these consultations and they may not convert right away. It may not be the right time for them. And that, okay, on one end, that stinks. There's a deal out of your pipeline, there's income out of your wallet that you're looking at as potential. But that's not the case because how you perform in that moment still and how you perform after those moments too, in terms of following up with that connection, really matter. And to understand that you can further cement a relationship to lead to a transaction with them directly based on how well you're doing in this process, or, lead to a referral maybe more quickly than that person transacts. So you're always on the spot. You're always, being interviewed because like how I think about this career is your job description is just to be out there communicating with as many people as you can and building relationships with as many people as you can to where they remember you as their real estate resource. That's the job. So then when you get formal opportunities to talk with people about real estate, now like this is where you really got to turn it on and where you really got to be effective. But understand that you can do it in a manner to where it's just going to last for your entire career if you just have this mindset and practice and skill set on a daily basis. And I found it to be very powerful mindset wise when you think of your pipeline and you think of what you're looking to accomplish in say the next 30 days or the next year. If you can switch that mentality to like rather than a 30, 60, 90-day pipeline is a notion for a lot of sales professionals. Switch that mentality to a 30, 60, 90 month pipeline. Now that's if anybody was at Phil Jones recently, that was ripped off from him. Happy to do it. But like that is extremely powerful in terms of how to think of this business overall. And if you're thinking of in the moment consultation wise, like whether or not you're going to be able to help them, like there's an opportunity, let's consult. Let's see if it makes sense for you to do this. And let's see if it makes sense for me to help you. That's essentially what we're going through today. If they're not ready right now or anytime soon, it's still an opportunity for your business. And it may be 75 months from now, but hopefully if you have plans to retire in that time period, great, good for you. Hopefully everybody in this room wants to be in the business 90 months from now. So it's going to be helpful if you start building the pipeline for that far out and have a system and a process to be able to just be in connection with them and provide that value to where when that time comes that they actually do need to transact, you're the one they think of. Last line here, like, again, I think I'll go back to the human element, right? Like, we're all human, and especially in a day and age where the robots are here and only going to keep coming, right? You're going to make your money based on how well you interact as a human with other humans. And a big part of that is being able to quickly adapt to personality styles and preferences, communication styles and preferences, and mirror and match type of tactics and things like that, so that you can make sure that you're able to convert best. This consultation I keep referring to, right? The ultimate goal that is to come out of that to where you're working by an agreement with mutual intent, right? And that being that they have intent of following the game plan that you've laid out for them, and using that and using you as their partner to reach their real estate goals. And it's just something that, again, mutual is going to be a big theme of this today, to where, like, if you're working with somebody and the intent isn't mutual, meaning they have an idea of doing it their way and it needs to be done this way, you're not really working with somebody. Now, I will say, let me just take a time out and say this. You have to understand that this business, you have to be versatile. You have to be willing to adapt, right? So a lot of what we're going through today is going to be like, my opinion of, hey, if this were the perfect playbook to follow, here it is. Well, perfect happens about how often, percentage wise at the time, right? Very rarely. So just understand that you're going to have to pivot and go off the playbook at times, and that's okay. The reason I bring that up is like this whole concept of what I just said, of like, if you're both not on the same page and working together by agreement and on page with the game plan, that you don't really have a client. Well, there's plenty of times when something will come out of nowhere and it just comes together, right? So understand that it's not to say that, well, I'm not really doing these things that he's talking about and therefore I'm screwed. Look at this with the perspective of, it's an opportunity to where, like, how can I improve my process and my practice for my business? My goal for you today would be to, like, take one thing away that you go and try to implement over time or right away to help improve your process. And ultimately the design of all of this is to, help improve the conversion process of getting people to a lead to closed. But a big part of that is, like, you're on the same page. The client understands and accepts what you're giving them in terms of, you're the expert, you're the one they need to be following, and they're ready to do it. I use ready, willing, and able a lot as, like, a buyer or a seller or an investor needs to be checking all three of those boxes in order to truly be somebody that you're going to transact with very soon. Now, again, things can happen quickly out of the blue to where all of a sudden, if they've got two of those three checked, but in one conversation, now they got the third, and you convince them to whatever, buck up more of an earnest money deposit to be competitive, and then they go get the next offer accepted. So just understand the process of things, but this is the ultimate goal. If you can approach the business in this manner to where you're going at it to where it's like, okay, if this were perfect, the ultimate goal of this would be this. It's not always going to be perfect. Frankly, shouldn't say very rarely, because I do think there's, if there's a skill set and a mindset to really follow the approach and really be methodical with how you go about this business and have it be, a process that you want to get through, you want to attempt to get through for each and every, person that you're meeting with in order to see if it's a good fit to work together, and especially each and every person that you are working together with, like that becomes a huge benefit to your business and a huge, ability to really, convert at the highest level possible. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of like, hey, go be perfect that's going to come from me. And that's what a coach does, right? Like if any of you are in coaching relationships or considering it, understand that you're hiring somebody to push you, right? So why not push to something that's really well crafted and, designed to be perfect versus just loosey goosey. Try it sometimes, see what happens, right? A big part of being on the same page is the compensation discussion, right? And my take on things in the last 18 months or so in the industry is good. I'm glad all this happened. I'm glad that this is forced and required to have this conversation as soon as possible, so that there isn't lack of transparency in the industry for the consumer side of things, and that it forces agents to have to get on board with the mindset and skill set that they need to have in order to force that conversation and approach for their business. But ultimately, the goal is to come out of a consultation where you're working with somebody you want to work with, they want to work with you, you have confidence that you're going to be able to help them reach their goals, and they are on board with the game plan that you're giving them to reach their goals, and they're agreeing to pay you what you want to charge. That's the Cliff Notes version of this whole thing. We'll dive in. So, and I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a peek behind the curtain. My whole presentation here, I don't know if anybody remembers it, but Value Squared was offered by our boy Gary Keller and crew last spring when all the NAR stuff was going down. And really, this is a different take on that. I'm telling you that just to understand, like, this company is full of systems and models and resources and tools, and use them. You can do them word for word. You can develop your own take on things and figure out if it works from there. Go ahead.
Is there a place I can get a printout of that roadmap?
Yeah, if you email me, I'll send you any of this. Yeah. That goes for everybody. My email is just mancusojason@kw.com or Gmail. What's that? Of course I don't. No, I forgot. So yeah, reach out to me. They're gonna send me a list of who's here, and I'll follow up. So you have my contact info as well. But you're welcome to contact me anytime, and we're happy to share anything that we do. So, step one in the process. Okay. So again, we're getting to the point where you've created a lead, you've generated a lead, and now it's time to convert it. And what do you do? Now I'll say, like, before I dive into the process itself, understand that it may not be one sit down meeting in this awesome office that you guys have, and everything just happens all at once. So go into this process that I'm encouraging you to create and use for yourself, understanding that it may have to happen over multiple conversations to get to that point I described of that ultimate goal. If you can have a face-to-face with somebody in an hour's time or whatever it is and get through everything and everything's just flowing seamlessly and it all works that way, yeah, great, do it. That happens on a phone call or a Zoom, do it. Practically speaking, you're part of the design of this is really like you may have to do this in steps, because there's a 3-part process here, 3 steps, and you really shouldn't move on to the next step until you're ready to move on from the current step you're on. And I'm just planting that seed now. I'll give you the perspective with the details here. You'll understand the perspective with the details here, but just that's really important to understand that, like, because it gets to be like a forced type of dynamic when it's well, you're not willing to come into the office or meet me in person, and we need an hour and a half to get through this process, and they're not really seeming willing to do that. Find a way to achieve what you need to achieve to get through the process that you establish for yourself, and be okay with having to do it in waves, because that's what consumers want. They want flexibility. They want adaptability. They want somebody that's willing to communicate with them on their time and their preferred methods. Not, I mean, listen, if your pipeline is big enough to where you're okay with rejecting opportunities, and it's your business is at the point where it's like, look, I'm sorry, this is the way I do it. If I'd love the opportunity to work with you, but if you'd like that opportunity, I need you to meet me in my office and book an hour and a half of my time so we can get through this properly. That's the way I do it. And it's okay if that's not a fit for you, but that's what I have to do. Is anybody in a position to do that, to where it's, hey, I have enough other opportunities that I need to do it a certain way. And, if you're not willing to do it that way, I have to reject you. Possible to get to that point, I'll tell you. Good.
I'd say 90%.
Good. Makes sense. With what I know about your business.
About my personality.
No, I meant your business. I meant your business. You said that. I love it. So diving into the process itself. Step one is all about them. Okay. The most common way that this would be referred to would be a needs analysis. Okay. But you want to find out, you want to lead with everything to do about them. This should be all questions. If you're talking, stop and figure out what question to ask. This is just fact finding, preference finding, getting a feel for their communication style, their personality, trying to figure out, like, you're bobbing and weaving right now, right? You're trying to figure out, like, okay, how much time do I have? How much time do I need to spend on this question? Is this important to them? Like, you figuring out, are they chatty Cathy, or are they a high D and just want to, kind of giving you a look, or like, get to the point? So making it about them and finding out who, what, where, when, why, how. Like, you should be wanting to fill in the blanks of those categories. Like, if you were to build a checklist around this step for this process for yourself, I would just who, what, where, when, why, how, and look to ask questions to fill in the blanks of those. But you're also, by focusing on them, you're going to allow for the trust and the rapport and the relationship to build out effectively, again, versus just coming in, okay, great, you want to buy a house, or if you're qualified already, or what? You don't even know where they want to live. You don't even know who they're buying a house for, or why, or when the timing would be. So again, think of yourself as a buyer or a seller yourself, and treat it accordingly. Ultimately, the goal where you would be ready to move on to step two in this process is that you know enough about their situation and what they're looking to do and when they're looking to do it, who's involved, and where. I don't know if I said that yet, but etc. Right? And you have a sense of the how, which would be, the financial part for the most part. And you're feeling confident that you can make that happen, right? You do not move on to the next step if they're telling you everything that they want and you're thinking, like, that'd be great, I'd buy it too. It doesn't exist. I want a $75,000 home in Amherst with 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. Pretty sure that doesn't exist, right? So if that's what they're telling you you want, even though it's a lead that's willing to engage with you and talk with you and communicate with you and give you the opportunity to work with them. I know that's an extreme example, right? But I'm not in this market, but maybe I can relate to it better. Amherst under 300,000, does that exist?
Closer to Bailey, like
200. So I'm a buyer. I'd love to move to Amherst. I hear it's awesome. I've got about a budget of 200,000. I need 4 bedrooms. Right. So you like, don't go into, here's how I can help you do that, is the next step. because you shouldn't be confident that that is going to work. And whatever strategy you're telling them is really fraudulent because it's not designed to work, because that doesn't exist for the most part. That makes sense? To really like, your goal here of this first step is to just get to a point where you've built rapport and trust. And again, understand you may have to pivot. You get in front of that high D personality, they don't want to hear it. Get to the point. How can you help me? What's the plan? So with that type of personality, I understand. Just tell me what you're looking for, summarize it on your end. And then I'm going to tell you the plan for it. Go ahead.
Can I add something that I do?
Please.
So I actually don't even tell them. I have the MLS pulled up and I just show them. We'll go through their criteria. I'll type it all in. Oh, well, there's not really anything available. Let's see what's closed in the last year to see if something like this is likely to ever happen.
Yeah.
And so I don't even have to say it.
Yep.
Because they're seeing it. It's just like, oh, we have to adjust.
100%. And generally speaking, as often as you can achieve something like, that aspect to where you're showing data and facts to back up what you're telling them, that becomes extremely powerful. If you're not doing that,
especially initially, I don't have rapport.
Yeah.
A lot of people know that work on commission. Oh, they just want me to buy a $300,000 house and $200 because they're gonna get one.
And I approach it as like, I'm getting to know your criteria, not like I'm trying to prove a point that you're unrealistic. This is like me getting to know you. I'm typing everything in. Oh, there's no matches.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, it is worth noting with that approach that I'm saying is necessary to use the data that's out there for your business and your practice and the conversations you're having, and the points you're trying to prove, and the strategies that you're developing for a seller, or the, telling a buyer what to offer, right? Like, bring the data into the equation, please. So but also be careful with it, because sometimes if it's not presented the right way, it may not be it may be misunderstood, or they may think you're whatever. You could have potential. I'm not picking up anything from you, right? But potential, like, just like that, you could ruin the vibe too with data, because a lot of people don't react well to facts. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. The financial discussion, because you do need to have that, right? Because let's say they're telling you, I want to buy a $600,000 home in Amherst. Now we're talking, right? You're excited. Doable. Doing a little market research. And okay, your ears perk up. And if you don't dive into specifics, that may not be real. That may just be a thought. Or if you do dive into specifics and you get down to it to determine that, well, I really only want to spend $1,500 and I got about 10 grand to work with. Are they buying a $600,000 house in Amherst now?
No.
Not hack, but like my approach with a financial conversation is always leading with the word comfortable as often as you can. But two aspects that you want to try to solve that I just mentioned. What are you comfortable with spending per month to own this home? All in, taxes, insurance, typically escrowed. If it's a first-time home buyer, think of it as a rent payment. You're cutting one check to the bank each month. You tell me what you're comfortable with. And number two, not asking what your life savings is, but what do you want to bring to the table in terms of closing costs and down payment? Versus, did you get pre-approved and for how much? Or just how much you think you want to spend? They don't know. Or I shouldn't say that. Very rarely have they done the math to know. And also, you're showing value, and this is something to point out to them, to where it's like, look, I'm asking because I don't want you to just go to a lender first and say, I want to get pre-approved, I want to buy a house. Because you may, hopefully your lending relationships look out for people, I'm sure they do. But if you get them with the wrong lender, they go to the wrong lender and they're just like, wow, this person got a great job, they make a ton of money, they got a ton saved, 900 credit score, and they're approving them for $1 million home. and their true budget that they're comfortable with breaks down to like 500,000, it's a serious problem, right? In the sense of like, if they find that out later without your guidance or even with you being involved, I should say, like, if you're involved at this point, they find out that the budget was all out of whack and you're the one that's been leading them. May not want to work with you. So that approach of like anything financially related with a buyer, break it down to what do you want to spend per month? I say this, I'm not asking what your life savings is, but like what's saved to go towards this purchase. And then, okay, because now again, you're qualifying at this point. And again, patience, like I would have how last on the list, like get through the who, what, where, when, why first. And then, okay, great. Like, hey, this all sounds great. Let's talk about how you're going to do this financially. And then find out if you really have a, qualified opportunity there that you should be moving on to step 2 of telling them what we need to do together to get this done. Because if the math doesn't math, that's your pause point, right? And that's what I referred to earlier of like, if you may have to do this in multiple conversations, multiple steps. And it may be, hey, look at it, like they may not know. A lot of people haven't thought of this. And a lot of these conversations will end at the first step of like, okay, listen, like, let me know what I can help with. But I think what would be best is if you and the missus, kind of spend some time and grab a bottle of wine and go through a life budget of sorts and really, kind of get a financial plan that you're comfortable with for this purchase, organize, come back to me when you have that. Be an accountability partner to them in a way too. And hey, do you have the next week to be able to do that? If I call you next Friday, you think it'll be done by then? No rush, whatever works for you. But like, you kind of let them know that you're here to lead them to the process, even on stuff that's just planning related. When you're not even telling them yet, call the lender first. Let them know you want to be involved. Have that be part of your value proposition. Questions on this step of all about them before we move on? Thoughts?
So would it behoove us to have like practice scripted discovery questions so we're prepared for when going in there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Practice is a huge element of your business. If you go into the game, let's just think of any sport. You hop right into the game without practice. Screwed, right?
Always.
So your business, treat it as that. You're going into the game of a consultation, of even a lead generation session to try to create these opportunities, and you haven't practiced it. It's a problem.
I have another question. It's kind of an odd one. It's involving consultations. I spoke with a man named Mike today. He does a We Bet Home service, but he also owns a brokerage. What kind of situation would I be able to get in with them to make some type of business deal? Would I need to have a consultation with them, even though they own a brokerage?
Well, I think it would probably come down to, I would just directly ask them, like, so you own a brokerage, you're also an investor, it sounds like. I don't want to step on your toes, but happy to help. You are already in the brokerage game. Do you use that for sales, or do you need somebody to represent you?
Yeah, I saw one of their vans driving by me on the way to another appointment this morning, and I decided to call him. He said he was willing to have a meeting with me to meet up, but the last thing he said is like, I also own a brokerage, and I was like, oh, okay. Where do I go from here?
Yeah, could be recruiting you.
Probably wants to.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
It seemed like a normal leading up to that, and I was just like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
I can help this guy
Yeah,
out.
no.
Then he said, Jim, right. What do I do now?
Getting recruited. Good thing. All right.
I just say,
Please, yeah.
are you new to Keller Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like if you ask anybody, most people, but particular people on the ALC, like, can I shadow you on one of your consultations? They usually always say yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
I know there's a list for the ALC. Was in a PC training, they said there's a list, but Kristen wasn't able to tell us where to find the list. You know where to find the list, so I can.
Well, our
look up-
I was gonna say the pictures are up.
The pictures are up on the front, you could ask the, Carrie just for Sarah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Stand from the ALC. Oh, cool.
One thing I'll say to everybody is be the seeker. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Right? So if you're curious, good, go seek the answer, seek the way, seek the solution. Yeah. It's deep, huh?
The light.
All right, so I'm gonna skip over this slide, but again, kind of that who, where, why, who, what, where, when, why, how, framework of things to really, that's how I think of it, right? Like I use that from the standpoint of, if you're gonna build out a process formally in writing, I would just look to fill those questions, or the answers for those questions. And again, builds trust, treat them like humans. All right, so step 2, now this is where you're going to be doing more talking. Now you're talking to them about what the process is. You've determined, like, great, I can help you. Let's see if I can really help you based on your willingness to be able to get on board with what I'm telling you. I'm the captain now, right? This is your ship. They're choosing to be a passenger on it to get to their destination. Is the mindset that you need to have in this business and why they're hiring you. If they didn't need this, they wouldn't hire you. They would do it themselves, or they would find another captain. So you have to have a certain level of like arrogance to it, I guess, right? Not in a bad way, but so really make sure that you get into a process of, like, this is something that you're all going to have to craft. Here's what I do to help you reach your goals for a buyer, seller, investor, renter, whatever it is. I'm not going to give you that playbook today. You're going to have to go to the lab. You're going to have to go to the drawing board and, like, what is it that I'm doing to help you get through this process? What is it that I'm doing to help you get through your goals? But you're going to need to talk to them about it and lay it out so that you've set the expectations. You've set the standards of what it's going to take to reach their goals. You're getting towards this agreement of, this is important to you. We've just determined that. And if it's important to you and you want to work with me and you trust me, then you would be buying into the process that I'm recommending in order to reach your goals. And you're hoping that that all plays out, right? And they're agreeable to it. Is this part of the process. But you're gonna have to do a lot of educating in this step. There's probably going to be a lot of talk about the market conditions and that setting the stage to why the process is what it is, right? Especially in our competitive market, the seller's market that we're still hanging on to here in the Northeast, right? You're going to need to have the knowledge and the data and the confidence to be able to tell them, this is because the market is what it is right now. This is why we have to do what we have to do. It becomes helpful when you're, giving them a reason why versus just, listen to me, damn it, this is what we got to do. Right. And ultimately getting through this step to where, makes sense? We good? Any questions? Any issues with this plan that I'm recommending? Anything that, you object to? Comfortable with this? Like, verify that they're willing to do it before you go in for step 3, which is getting to this point of working by an agreement. But this is where a lot of things can go wrong and, future you problems of working with somebody. If you're leaving things off, if you're not telling them things that they need to know of what it takes to reach their goals or what it takes to work with you, and then you tell them 4 weeks later after they get their teeth kicked in, with all these multiple offers and offers lost and things of that nature, or you are rushing to get somebody signed up to work with the process of like, okay, over time, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how we're going to get you competitive. And now you're months into it. It's a really tough way to go about this business. And again, perfect playbook, so to speak, versus like reality. I get it that there's plenty of flyers that you can take and should take. It's kind of a way to look at it is like, how quickly can you cut down the time it takes for somebody to transact if they are, in a position where there's motivation for them to do something. That's something I really haven't touched on. I mean, keep in mind that if somebody doesn't have a motivation to buy or sell a home, they're probably not going to do anything anytime soon. So do you need to find that out in terms of what the motivation is? Have you not really gotten to it and that's an objective? Or is it confirmed that like, yeah, no reason for me to really go anywhere? Dig further if the opportunity presents itself, or just understand like, it's okay. It may be more of a pipeline fit for the 30, 60, 90 month pipeline. Well, at this point, step 2, you're moving on to step 3 because like, okay, I know I can help you. And I want to help you. Step 1. Step 2, you want to work with me because you're confident the game plan that I'm recommending is going to be able to help you get where you want to get to. If that's the case, and you need to verify that and confirm that, then you're on to step 3, which is working by agreement. This is a partnership. Nobody works for free here, even though it may seem like it often. Intention of cutting that down, right?
Don't ever do the hourly math. Just leave it alone.
Unless they want to pay you.
Oh, that, yeah.
It's true. You need to have a formal agreement, obviously. We don't need to cover that, hopefully. You're going to be able to get to this part of the conversation, hopefully with very little friction, because again, you just went through a process where it's like all about them. I know I can help you. You got a lovely family. I can't wait for you to get in your new home. Like, you want to work with me, right? Like, this game plan I just laid out is awesome. And like, you can just see yourself in the new home and we're really hitting it off, right? I'm not saying this is the script, but this is the feeling, right? And it becomes fluid to where it's just like, yeah, no problem. Like, yeah, you've proved your worth. I'm happy to pay you whatever you want to charge. That's the intention of this process. And you can see where it goes wrong when, you kind of go in reverse order and, hey, are you pre-approved or not? And we got to have buyer agency agreement, see this house. What do you want to do? I'm telling you, that's what a lot of your competition is doing.
If they even do it.
What's up?
If they even.
Sure. But you may get some pushback in this step, right? You may get, $500,000 house, 3%. You want to charge me? You can charge whatever you want to charge. 15 grand. A lot of cake, bro. What are you doing for me, man? I get it. I get the plan, but really, 15 grand? This is where your value proposition comes into play. You really got to go to the lab and craft that. And I want you to craft it with the perspective of, what are you going to say when you're asked, why should I work with you? Or, the other agent was willing to do it for 2%. Why should I pay you 3%? It's $5,000 extra. Why are you worth $5,000 more than somebody else that I know?
So when you hear that.
Yep.
And they're looking at a $400,000 house. And then they're like, you know what, I want this $500,000 house. What's your answer? What extra are you providing for that $500,000 house and that $400,000 house justify that $3,000?
Yeah, and this is where it gets really helpful to where you have that pipeline and that business to be able to say, hey, I hope that everything that got us to this point in the conversation has been well thought out and you see it to be carefully planned and you're confident in that plan. And, like I have a lot of passion behind this. And this is where it's like insert whatever you're going to say here is what I need each of you to really craft, right? To be able to get through this conversation. I'll rattle off mine, right? But ultimately it's like it's coming down to what is it that you can present that you have a ton of energy around, you have a ton of passion around, and you have a ton of, be able to provide a fluid response. Because now this is could be make or break. This is, savvy people would look at this as like, is this guy just well rehearsed and scripted and like, been trained up recently, or is this somebody that's worth what I'm going to pay them or what they're asking for? Right. So really each of you needs to spend some time doing that. But again, the value proposition point of things is like, because I know that's like a cliche term in a way, right? Just it's not necessarily even just KW jargon term, one of those, right? It's just, that's throughout any business. I want you to think of it as like that's the answer to why should I pay you what you're asking for? Why should I work with you? Mine would involve leverage and specialists with the team that we have, right? I'm hesitant to throw mine out just because like I don't necessarily sell. Like I have, I would be telling somebody, look at like, because it's a different conversation in terms of the, hey, I'm the CEO of the hospital and you need a heart surgeon for your heart surgery type of thing is my approach. Right. So I'm going to be talking about leverage. I'm going to be talking about leading the team to execute on their specialty and just how all of the benefits that we have as an organization ultimately are designed to translate to the client themselves. And I'm, able to be in a position where I have those specialists that are out there serving at the highest level with what they need to be doing to represent you. And now you're getting not just me, you're getting a team of 23 behind you to help you reach your goals. For an individual agent, I would get passionate about this. This is what I do. Whether you do it full time or not, but if you do it full time, like for any dual career part-time agent here, don't take a shot at this. Or don't feel put off by what I'm going to say, right? But if you're a full-time agent and you're like, this is what I do full time, this is what I live and breathe outside of my family. Like my family's number one. I'm not going to BS you here, right? Like I'm doing this for my family. This is the means to me putting food on the table, and I take it very seriously. I also understand that this is you got a major move coming up. You've been in this house for 20 years. You raised your kids here, right? Now you're ready to downsize and get into some. This is big stuff. And I take that very seriously because I know I've done it myself. I know the emotional and psychological just stress and everything that's involved with it and the logistics of it. And like, I'm here. And the full, me being here with you, this is where if you're part-time, you can still achieve what I'm saying in terms of just how you communicate and emphasizing that, your availability. And like, I am here with you. I am a partner to you. I take this so seriously that I'm, don't get me wrong. I understand it's your home and your life, but like I try to position myself to where I'm feeling the stress just as equally as you. And that drives me to make sure that I'm not selfishly feeling that stress and making sure that I'm getting everything done that needs to get done for you. Get excited about it. But have something that's crafted that really drives the point home as to why you are authentic or what the differentiating factor is. My bet would be if you can get through that part of the conversation, they'll probably cave. Because if you're this far, part of the design of this, if you've gotten this far, you've got a good amount of time into it to where, sure, some people may, just like I described, like, yeah, just take my money. Love to work with you. A lot of people are gonna be like, okay, I get it. It seems like a lot. Or, I've got other people that I'd like to get a take from too. If you can answer this question fluidly and confidently and comfortably and have it make sense, good chance you're gonna win right there. But just disagreement needs to be a partnership and an agreement that is enforced, and they need to understand that. And they need to understand what you're investing and what you're willing to do on their behalf and what the cost is and why and how it's going to play out from there. Questions on that? So you've made it through the process now. You're at the point where you have a signed agreement with them. It's not it, right? But like, this is so critical to get to that point to where now you're okay, let's go find you the house. Let's go sell this house versus trying to just hope that sticks to the wall. Right. So it's sort of the methodical process to allow that to happen is the whole point of this presentation today. I'll fly through this just to protect your time, get you out of here on time. But again, I'll have plenty left over if you're available. This I took from an article I read recently, but you know, kind of don't be an average agent, right? Every agent has access to the MLS. Every agent has the ability to open a door. Every agent has the ability to put a sign in the yard and put it on the MLS as a listing agent and put something on social media, send an email blast, this, that, and the other, right? But you know, clients are going to be expecting more and more from here for the duration because there's a lot of technological advances going on, right? You need to be in a mindset that your client is asking their AI tool whatever they're going to ask you before they ask you. So they're going to have the answer. So how well you perform to that same answer is really going to make a difference. Now, is everybody going to be at that level now? But I would assume that they are going into it so that you have, you know, a strong approach as to how you're, you know, going about this in order to provide value that is authentic and differentiates yourself from the competition. Keep in mind, every brokerage has training of some sort for the most part, right? And, you know, just taking it at its base level and then running the business that way without any differentiating or authentic factors just makes you average. It's not to say you can't be successful with that, but you know, your business explodes when you're able to, you know, differentiate yourself and really provide more value. But these are, you know, some of the things that could come up as part of your value proposition too. If you're really confident on market data and market insight, I would talk about it. If you have exclusive access to off-market listings, I would talk about it. If you don't, I wouldn't talk about it. If you don't, you know, like don't tell people stuff that you're not gonna be able to do, right? You know, negotiation, that becomes one of these like, okay, you're telling me you can negotiate type of things, right? But you know, it's average in terms of, yeah, I would hope that you're negotiating on my behalf as a fiduciary and somebody then paying whatever the amount that they're paying you. Financial protection is a big thing for people, right? And I think to make sure that you're treating that fiduciary relationship like directly as you know, a conduit tied to their money, that could become part of your value proposition too. Treating this as if it were my money. I understand how important this is to you. I understand the money at stake. And yeah, that's why I charge what I charge. And you know, when there's more money at stake, I got to perform at a higher level for you. Perform at the highest level for everybody, but it's just the way business goes. If you can be confident to have that response. But you got to have a confident response some way or another, otherwise you're just going to cave, right? You've done this well if you've presented yourself properly, you've built rapport, You've, really shown them what the path is to their opportunity. And in detail, right? Like here's the path and here's the details that you need to consider along the way in order to make decisions. You've done this the right way. If like close, right? You're in sales, like ask for the sale, close. At minimum, close to the next step in terms of, if you get hung up on the financial aspects of step one, right? And the needs analysis. Hey, are you going to be able, like I said earlier, are you going to be able to, get with the wife and get a rough draft of that budget by, say, next Friday? Would that give enough time? And I'll follow up with you then to see where you're at. It's a technique to close to the next step. You should be doing that with every single conversation that you have, even if it's just somebody in your sphere. And, hey, cool if I check in a few months later. That's an example of it. But like with everybody in your pipeline, every lead that you're following up with, I'm going to contact you when, and here's why, on every single conversation. Lead follow-up is easier than lead generation if you're doing it with that tactic. Because otherwise you're just guessing when the next right time is going to be. I skipped over one that if you're in this moment where you're converting, there's no better time to see who else you can help. And don't get me wrong, I guess like asking puts you at a different level than most in the profession, but asking in a manner of just who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? It's tired, my opinion. I'll take it if it works, right? Like I'll take that action, but just reframe it. Who do you know that is looking to do something similar that you're doing? Who else do you know that's looking to move to Amherst? Good opportunity to get that out there. Yeah, that's it. Get you guys out of here on time if anybody needs to leave, but I got time. So Q&A, whatever we can talk about this topic, we can talk about anything. I reserved some time here, so I'm an open book.
So will you be here in an hour or you be already gone?
No, sorry. Not that much time.
There's just another virus consultation.
Yeah, no, go, yeah, please. What we got?
How long is fire for?
Depends, right? Depends on as long as you can get. But I say that so quickly because understand how to use the agency agreements. Like that non-exclusive agreement, is a weapon of sorts. Right. And to use it effectively to where it's like, hey, like you may find early in a conversation, some of you don't know, or even some of you know, and it's just like, you don't feel they're really digging this whole, process type of thing. But you're a professional and you play by the rules and they want to see a house, you want to show it to them. You feel like they got a good job, that they're going to be qualified, like that type of flyer that you want to take to get in front of them and win them over with your good looks and charm, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all about it. But use that non-exclusive agreement as the way to do that, to where it's like, look, I want to show you this house. I gotta might be an uncomfortable conversation, but here's how the industry works. Here's the requirements that are for consumers and agents if you're gonna, see a house with an agent. We have to have something signed to have, the ability to show the house. I haven't met you. We haven't even talked. I'm not going to ask you to work with me exclusively right now for a 3-month agreement, but I do need to have something in place in order to show you this home. And it's called a non-exclusive agreement. The way it will work is we can just do it for this house only. So that if you move forward and buy this home by chance, it says we're working together. We could do it, if you want to see a few homes this weekend, we could do it just till Tuesday. But to really use that as the ability to get your foot in the door is that kind of old flyer mentality, right? Like, let me just meet you at the house and again, we'll win you over there. It's still the same concept, right? But now you're able to find out more, it's a qualifying thing. Now you know who's in front of you. what their attitude is and what their approach is gonna be. Because obviously people react differently when they're, forced to sign something. So if you're coming at this with, just listen, these are the rules. If you're asking me to, I'm licensed with the state. If you're asking me to do things that could get me not licensed, I guess I can't work with you. I'm sorry. But here's the alternative solution just so that we can get to know each other. You can get a sense of how I go about things and whether, my goal is just to be able to consult with you to see if it's the right fit to work with you, for us to work together. I want to know, what your goals are. I want to know that I can help you get there. Yeah.
When you went on listing consultations, how long would they be?
About an hour, depending. Anthony would answer that differently. Anthony would say that I want to be there as long as I can, because if I'm there for 3 hours, I'm walking away with that listing. And I'm okay with that. On average, that was probably about an hour.
And I know Anthony did like the 2 appointments essentially.
Yeah,
Is that what you did too?
I like to, if the opportunity presents itself to do that, to me, I really like that approach. I think where you got to be cautious, and again, this is the bobbing and weaving and like pivot and like understanding you got to adapt. If it's competitive and they're putting you on the spot, and that's your response when they're saying like, dude, I don't want you to go back to the drawing board. I want you to give me your professional opinion right here. Like, prove it, right? That I should work with you. You gotta be in that position to be able to do so. So it's situational is my response. I think everything in this business is, right? Again, all these playbooks, all these tactics, all these philosophies, models, concepts, right? Comes down to, okay, again, this is, if the situation were perfect, here's how to do it, or here's an example of how to do it. If it's not, what's plan, forget B, start thinking about plan E. So run through B, C, D. Talk to me.
Brand new agent, you just explained this very well. Can you explain every other step to be an agent?
Appreciate it.
5 minutes.
Appreciate it. Yeah. What's I'll put you on the spot. What's most pressing in your mind? Like, what do you feel least confident about?
For me, it's I'm having those phone calls, it's converting, that's why I'm here today. And more just feeling confident with the process, as far as transaction test and all that stuff. I don't want to feel like a fraud, so I gotta make sure I got all that down before.
Yeah. So yes, new agents, you got tough, right? Because you gotta do like everything. Because you gotta learn how to do everything. And then you also need to be doing what you need to do to grow your business, to create these opportunities. So I always am adamant to where recording this, so I'm just gonna say break stuff philosophy. Trying not to get my YouTube taken down. But get out there and break stuff, pick up the pieces, figure out it. So instead of ready, aim, fire, get yourself ready, fire, then aim. And get yourself ready again, fire a bunch more times, and then recalibrate and re-aim. And you got to learn how to do the stuff that you just need to learn how to do to function when you do have the opportunity. I just see a real downside in like, okay, I'm going to get going and I'm going to create these opportunities once I know how to do everything I need to. You'll never know. Right. And I know that you're in a place where you're going to have the support to figure it out when the time comes. So your priority is go find those opportunities. Yep.
If I could just address that, I would just focus on, you gotta talk to people, build relationships, deepen the relationship. The transactions, the desk and all that, the technical stuff that you're, not proficient at yet, somebody else will show you or walk you through, right? Don't wait to get perfect on that, spend your time building a database, talking to people, finding people to transact. It's better if you had 3 people that were ready to buy a house today and you had no clue even what your password is.
Right.
Because I can tell you, when I first got started, I'm showing a house and the woman who was the seller's agent had to be there. And she was the #1 agent in the market by a long shot at the time, an old timer. And we were talking at the house and she says, Joe, I even read a contract with 10 years. She goes, I wouldn't know how to write one if my life depended on it. She was selling millions of dollars, but what she had this incredible database of people that trusted her real estate knowledge. So don't wait to get proficient in all that other stuff. Ask one of us,
Right.
ALC people, or anybody else that will help you, but just talk to people, find people that want to write a contract. And then, just like Jason said, fire, 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 and then we'll help you with the rest.
Thanks, sir.
The additional context I'll add to that for everybody, like just a reminder for all of you, you've been doing it for 15 years. I don't know where this data comes from, but it's been said that 7% of your database will transact on any given year. So the odds suck. You're going into this fire, fire, fire game where 93% of the time, the timing just isn't on your side. So for a new agent or an agent at any point, like it's just always the right time to start the communication in order to cement yourself as the resource. And then consistency is the biggest word.
Do you use script practice with people here? I have been, and I have a lot of funnels, if you will. So I've been reaching out to a bunch of people. It's just, always in the back of your mind, like,
Yeah.
Even like people in your personal life, you can practice with them. Because if you're not practicing with people here or in your personal life,
Right.
you're practicing on potential clients, and then that's where you see a lot of mistakes.
Well, and I'm not the AI expert, but like I'm recognizing that don't necessarily need to become the expert, but you need to use it. Write this down or look it up. app.sesame.com is AI that you can talk to and it talks back. So now you have a role play partner that's not a human, and if you're using a mirror or a dog, now it talks back to you.
be good. I'll give it away for free.
There you go. Well, good for you if because that's powerful.
I'm totally doing that now.
So I always say, like, listen, if you don't want to have a partner, if you don't want to, I know you guys have a morning call too. We do it as well. It's like, if you don't want to hop on that and use it, if you don't want to use it in a coaching call, if you don't want to get uncomfortable with other people, like, I get it. Well, now you can have people talk to you that aren't real, but you can be in a more comfortable space to do it. Like comfort is a counterintuitive word in the coaching world, right? But like my style is like, if you're not comfortable, you're probably not getting into action. And for a lead generation conversation, like, or just purpose, if you are not comfortable and confident on what to say, you're not saying it. You're not doing it. You can have the time blocked in your schedule. You can be ready to do it. You're all amped up for the day. Like you got on the morning call, have your coffee and have fresh shave and you're ready to rock. And then you get down to it. It's time. And you got people from your database that, there's a list that you're due to contact, whatever it is. And you got no idea what to say. Guess what? You're not doing. Saying anything to them. So this practice element is critical. If any of you wanted to be coached by Gary Keller and he gave you the opportunity, the first conversation, and he wouldn't talk to you again until you got this right, would be to let me look at your schedule. What time do you have for practice and role play in the morning? Are you blocked for lead generation after that? Are you blocked for lead follow-up after that? And are you going on appointments the rest of the day? He would say, come back to me when you got that and you've done that 1,000 times or however many months in a row, and then we can really get down to what the problem is or what help you need. Because I can't help you without, like, we gotta be looking at coaching like from what solution can be offered. I got to know that you've done something 1,000 times, not 10. So if you're telling me I tried this 10 times, it didn't really work. Yeah, well, 97% of the time or 93% of the time, it's not going to work. Let's see what the results are after 100. Okay, what about 500? And I know that's harsh for some to hear, but that's the business. Consistency of doing that. And same thing, it just scales. Like if you establish a process for your consultations, It's gonna suck the first time. Practice it before you go into that first game, but you're gonna be better on the 10th. You're gonna be expert on the 100th. Random, anything? How's the market here? What's the average days on market in Erie County? Ah, gotcha. What's the list of sales price ratio in Erie County
I think it's 4.5.
for month supply of inventory, month and a half?
Only in a month and a half.
I think there's only 930 something now.
Know your data. Like that data tool in the matrix is powerful.
So different right now, so like there are parts of Erie County that are still selling crazy fast, and then other areas that
Sure.
are going down, so I'm looking more at the neighborhood by neighborhood.
Yeah. Definitely get it apples to apples as much as you can. Yeah. And that's really, I think, the feel of it, the pulse of it is like, we're still really strong, like month and a half supply of inventory is obnoxious, right? And the rest of the country's, I think it's like 4.6 right now is the average for the country. So we're still on extreme end of things, but you know, it's spotty, right? Same with Rochester.
Have you guys started using the rent system that Anthony talked to?
We're in progress, not officially, yeah. Interested?
I mean, super interesting.
Yeah.
I joined it.
Yeah. For us, so we have a call center,
Yeah.
Conversion Monster.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to say it about humans, but at this point, with like listening to the calls, I'd rather just
I had probably like some box like 6 or 7 leads over the past year and a half.